This explosion, the Ukrainians are saying, involved 1,100 pounds of TNT equivalent.
The attack comes hours after peace talks between the two countries fell apart. Meanwhile, Russia's launching new strikes of its own.
The air over Crimea trembles with fear. Russians are packing their bags, fleeing the once proudly occupied peninsula as Ukraine delivers its most devastating blows yet. A massive explosion rocked the Kerch Bridge, Russia's prized symbol of dominance and logistical lifeline to Crimea. This wasn't just another strike. It was a warning, a message, a revenge. Ukraine, fed up with constant attacks on civilians and failed peace talks, launched a powerful counteroffensive. After Operation Spiderweb humiliated the Russian military just 2 days prior, this new attack left Putin's forces scrambling.
Ukraine says it has struck a crucial bridge that links Russia with the occupied Crimean Peninsula. Ukrainian security services say explosives placed underwater severely damaged the pillars supporting the bridge, which acted as a vital supply line for Russian forces. This is Ukraine's third attack on that bridge since the full-scale war began 3 years ago. And it follows a series of escalating attacks from both sides just in the last 48 hours. On Sunday, Ukrainian forces launched a massive drone attack on Moscow's fleet of nuclear-capable bombers. The Russian base that Ukraine targeted is more than 2,500 miles from Ukraine. It caused billions in damages, according to Ukraine's security services. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Zelensky is accusing Russia of intentionally targeting civilians in a rocket attack on the northeastern city of Sumy earlier today. Kyiv claims at least 4 people were killed, more than 24 injured. And that attack came a day after a second round of peace talks in Istanbul made no progress on ending the fighting.
Russian authorities, terrified of what could come next, ordered inspections of every single truck crossing the border. That move choked traffic for miles and triggered public outrage, but it didn't stop the next blow, because the next attack didn't come from a truck. It came from below the surface. Ukraine deployed high-tech water drones, unmanned, silent, deadly, to target the Kerch Bridge. These underwater assassins slipped past Russian surveillance and struck at 4:44 a.m., detonating with the force of over 1,000 kilograms of TNT. The blast compromised the bridge's underwater support pillars, leaving it structurally unstable and unusable. Supply lines into Crimea cut, Russian military movements paralyzed, and Russian citizens panicking. Why is this bridge so important? Because it's not just steel and concrete, it's the main artery connecting mainland Russia to Crimea, Russia's gateway to its southern front. Without it, Putin's forces are isolated, vulnerable, and starved of supplies. If Ukraine keeps this pressure up, they could push Russia right out of Crimea. And if that happens, it's game over for Putin's ambitions. But that's not the only reason Russians are fleeing. There's more. Unconfirmed reports suggest multiple explosions followed the initial blast. Some say Ukraine has managed to compromise the bridge's entire surveillance system. A Russian webcam meant to monitor the bridge was used to film the explosion itself. Think about that. Ukraine didn't just break the bridge. They hacked the system meant to protect it. That level of access means Russia is more exposed than ever, and Russian civilians know it. People in Crimea are scared. Footage from the ground shows traffic jams of vans and civilians trying to escape.
Ukraine says it struck a bridge connecting Russia to Crimea. Kyiv says it hit the target below the water level with more than 1,000 explosives and has damaged underwater pillars. The bridge is a key supply route for Russian forces in Ukraine. Let's go to the Ukrainian capital, Kyiv, and speak to John Hendren. It's difficult to understand from those images the kind of damage that this attack may have inflicted upon the bridge. Any more details, John?
Well, the SBU, the security force here in Ukraine, says that this was months in the planning. That's a key bridge. They tried to hit it twice before, in 2022 and 2023. It is the longest bridge in Europe, 19 kilometers, and it's important because it resupplies Crimea from Russia, and Russia launches strikes out of Crimea. So that's why Ukraine is constantly wanting to target that bridge. We're told that at 4:44 this morning, there was an explosion at the base of that bridge, and that was the doing of the SBU itself. They say they planted 1,100 kilograms equivalent of TNT explosive there. And at that time, we're told that traffic did not stop. But we're seeing reports that there was a second explosion there now, and that traffic was temporarily stopped. It is reportedly flowing once again. So we don't really know how bad the damage is in this bridge.
Russian social media is flooded with angry posts, confused voices, and fingers pointing in every direction. They're blaming Putin, blaming the US, blaming traitors. But deep down, they know Ukraine is winning this battle. And it's not just about Crimea. Just before this strike, Ukraine managed to destroy multiple Russian strategic bombers before they could take off for a planned missile strike. Operation Spiderweb, conducted right under Russia's nose, crippled their air power. Russian media even admitted the attack ruined their largest planned assault since the start of the war. Putin's long-awaited Operation Juice Lightning never got off the ground, literally. This sudden collapse of Russian confidence has led to chaos among its military leadership. They're now launching internal investigations, interrogating truck drivers and blaming a man named Artyom, who allegedly helped smuggle drone-filled trucks into sensitive areas. But Ukraine had already evacuated everyone involved. There's no one left to catch. This leaves Russian propaganda networks in total meltdown.
But now let's turn to the ongoing war in Ukraine. Traffic's resumed on the Kerch Bridge. This links Russia and the occupied Crimean Peninsula after Ukraine said it had sabotaged that crossing. There was a massive underwater explosion that Ukraine says it has been planning for months by placing explosives under the bridge to try to damage its foundations. Well, the Kerch Bridge was opened by President Putin in 2018 after his annexation of Crimea 4 years earlier in 2014. Well, let's talk to Kira Rudik, a Ukrainian MP, leader of the Golos party. Welcome to BBC News. We're seeing, of course, the Russia saying that that bridge linking Crimea has reopened, but just talking about what Ukraine did in order to get explosives underwater, it seems that Ukraine is being increasingly audacious in the attacks that you are planning. And of course, I'm thinking about the extraordinary attacks on air bases deep inside Russia, hundreds of drones being used, smuggled in, an operation that took Spider's Web, took...
Talk show hosts are screaming on air, calling for executions of military conscripts, and demanding legislative changes to protect what's left of Russia's nuclear arsenal. They're not just scared, they're desperate, because when you lose Crimea, you lose control. And they can feel that moment getting closer. And here's the most ironic part. Even as Russia's military crumbles, its negotiators had the audacity to demand Ukraine's total surrender at the Istanbul peace talks. Their demands? Full Ukrainian withdrawal from Russian-claimed territories, some of which Russia doesn't even fully control. Recognition of Crimea and Donbass as Russian. Ukrainian neutrality. A ban on Western weapons. Lifting all sanctions. And perhaps most laughably, no more claims for war damages. It's not a peace proposal. It's a fantasy. A delusional list from a country losing ground every day. Ukraine's answer? Not in words, but in action. Explosions. Sabotage. Targeted strikes. Every move Ukraine makes says the same thing. We're not giving up. Not now. Not ever. Crimea has become the front line of this battle, not just militarily, but symbolically. The image of Russians fleeing the peninsula as Ukraine tightens its grip is powerful. It shows that occupation isn't forever. That fear works both ways, and that even Putin's empire has limits. What do you think? Can Russia hold on to Crimea any longer? Or is Ukraine on the verge of a historic victory? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more updates like this one.